Welcome back to episode 21 of the 9 Degrees podcast, the
Wait,
number
hold on.
one.
Sorry, can I stop you there? I didn't know you were going to do that. Give me 1 minute.
What just happened? Is this a bit?
That's what I said. I was muted, but is this a bit?
The transition from let's start to you doing the intro was 5 seconds. And I wasn't ready. I had to turn my heat off. You know, there's a lot of stuff.
Heat. You turned your whole HVAC central heating off?
Well, I said it's 61 degrees.
Jackson.
Okay.
What?
Why?
No, it's the heater. I turned it to 61 degrees, so it won't come on until it's 61 degrees in here. So otherwise, it'll just be off.
Right, agreed. I think
that's really low.
Yes.
I
think we both understood later. What you said.
I just did it so that it won't turn on during this podcast recording.
Okay, all right. We're on the same page.
Class is now in session.
Welcome back to episode 21 of the 9 Degrees podcast, the number one non-educational education-themed podcast in the world. We may have 9 degrees among us, but we still don't know much about anything. We'll keep you informed about the most interesting current events in the world, but make sure you use a fact checker like we always say, because we certainly don't. As always, I'm your boy Jerome. We got Maddox, we got Jackson back for another episode. You guys already know you can catch us on all podcast platforms. At 9 Degrees Pod on all socials, youtube.com/JeromeVaz. I want to dive right into it. We're skipping homeroom. We're going right into first period with Professor Jerome.
I have a homeroom topic real quick.
Oh, okay. We're not skipping homeroom.
to episode 21. We're 21 episodes old. Cheers.
Cheers.
We can have a non-alcoholic beverage.
Yeah,
we're of age.
It's odd that you would say that because 21 episodes in, and we're both drinking non-alcoholic Corona.
Hey, did you have to get ID'd to buy these?
Yes, I did, actually.
There you go.
True.
All right. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. It's dry January, so we're staying dry by drinking our, what is this, non-alcoholic Corona.
Well, my wife's just pregnant, so that's why I'm doing it. But
okay. Well,
also, I just like it now, so I probably will continue this throughout the rest of my life.
I fully agree. The biggest thing in American history just happened. Actually, I don't know if that's true at all, but we have a new president. For those of you that are international and watching this, America has a new president. President Donald J. Trump, the 50th...
He's also an old president, yeah.
Exactly. The 45th president, as well as the 47th president. Jackson, you're our history buff. Has that happened before in the past? I believe there's been one president to also do this, and it was...
Grover Cleveland.
Wow. Donald Trump and Grover Cleveland making history in America. That's interesting set of two people, I guess. But no, I just wanted to talk about the inauguration. There's been lots of speculation recently about, what's going to happen, what's not going to happen, how are our lives going to change. And I guess to start off with, I watched the inauguration speech, and generally speaking, I thought it was fine. I felt like the vibes, generally speaking, felt a lot better than 2016 in the sense of I don't know. There wasn't all this like a vibe of fear and hate, in my personal opinion, which is always a good thing. Regardless of who we all voted for in this election, I think we should all be hopeful that America's going to be okay and good things are going to happen because we all live here and we all love this country, right? But a couple topics that I wanted to talk about specifically: inflation and the economy. Let's start there. So in his speech, Donald Trump specifically said that we need to defeat record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices caused by massive spending, and said that he was going to start an external revenue service to collect on all these tariffs and things that they're going to do for imports. What are our thoughts, generally speaking? Can the president, Maddox, you say this all the time, can the president affect the economy and bring down inflation?
Well, in theory, yes, they can, but I think often this is more campaign rhetoric than it is actual. Well, one, I think it's more just campaign rhetoric than it is actual intent. Also, the way in which the president can affect the economy is through fiscal policy, right?
Mhm.
So my question would be, what are the fiscal policies that Trump is proposing that is going to correct inflation? Because those types of fiscal policies are what, like austerity, you know? Like,
I don't even know what that word means. What's austerity?
Jackson, do you know what austerity is?
It's generally speaking, it's when you do these two things together: increase taxes and decrease government spending.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a double whammy for people.
Yeah, so like that's a fiscal policy that would probably help with the inflation problem. Are you going to campaign on that? Is that what is associated with Trump at all?
I
No,
see what
it's
you're
like
saying.
the polar opposite of why people are voting for Trump and what is expected of his fiscal policy. So, like I said,
Well,
it
he
seems
has been
like
saying lowering government spending. That's been a big part of what he ran on.
Right. But he's also said he's going to cut taxes, which
Mhm.
is not how you deal with inflation. That actually, it puts more money in people's pockets and gets them spending more, which is the opposite of how you combat inflation. Yeah,
I think it's safe to say that no president is going to run on fiscal policy that is actually going to address inflation. Like both sides of
it just sounds bad.
Yeah, and both sides of the thing, like generally fiscal policy is inflationary, like kind of inherently, because that's just what that's what a good president does, is they spend money to fix things, you know? So
Right. Well, on the point about tariffs, I grouped these two things together because I feel like we've talked about tariffs before. And in the short term, tariffs will actually probably make the inflation problem worse, right? And I wanted to talk about that for a second, but quickly, I want to read a little excerpt from the AP. So the claim that he made in his speech was, they're creating an external revenue service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury coming from foreign sources. So the AP says the facts are, nearly all economists point out that American consumers will pay at least part, if not most, of the cost of tariffs. Some exporters overseas may accept lower profits to offset some of the costs of the duties, and the dollar will likely rise in value compared with other currencies from countries facing the tariffs, which could also offset some of the impact. But the tariffs won't have the desired impact of spurring more production in the U.S. unless they make foreign-made products more expensive for U.S. consumers. So the point that I want to get at is, yeah, I feel like a lot of people are misunderstanding this whole tariff piece, right? Like, I think they think that these other countries are going to pay for it, which, yes, you do typically pay for the tariff at the port, but they're just going to increase the cost of their product, right?
yeah, it's like Econ 101.
Right.
Maybe 200 level econ, but
right. If you're buying a t-shirt from China right now and it costs you $10, they now have a tariff that, it costs them a little bit more, so now you have to pay $12, or they're just going to increase the price of it to $12, which again increases cost of goods, increases inflation, right? Am I crazy?
Yeah, and now, honestly, now that I'm thinking about this, like, I'm kind of surprised that tariffs have become such a big part of his campaign, because why are we trying to get the average American to start thinking about tariffs when there's like Do you disagree, Jackson?
I think it goes hand in hand with his sort of patriotic America First policy, promoting tariffs with the underlying guise of bringing like manufacturing, for example, jobs back to the U.S. is a very strong. It resonates very well with his target audience, which is people who want to make America, industrial and self-sufficient and great again.
And I'm glad that you brought the manufacturing piece up, because if that's the play long term, right, is impose lots of tariffs on foreign countries so then we bring manufacturing back to the U.S., I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing if we can have equally priced products. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. The problem is we don't have the manufacturing infrastructure here already, right? So in the short term, it is just going to increase the cost of these foreign imported goods while we try to build up that manufacturing infrastructure here. And then by the time the infrastructure's here, he's not going to be president anymore. Maybe we have a different president that has a different ideology, and those plants that get built, nothing ever happens with them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why fiscal policy is sometimes difficult when you have cycling political parties in and out of office. Is an inconsistent fiscal policy can sometimes cause problems where if you enact something and your goal is to make a change happen long term, well, if your successor undoes that, then it was all for naught and you probably wasted a lot of resources doing that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't see, I mean, like you said, this bringing manufacturing jobs back to the US is on the order of like 10 years, not 4. So
Right.
if a Democrat gets elected in 4 years, undoes tariffs, which may or may not happen, who knows? Um, we're not going to realize the effects of this, and in reality, all that's going to happen is consumers are going to pay more money for
Yeah.
consumer
For the
goods in
next
the
4
short term.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows? I mean, Tim Cook already committed that Apple is going to put a bunch of money in, domestic investments to create more manufacturing here or design, which is good. That's a good thing. But again, we'll see what happens with it. I
Yeah,
guess.
it's good. It's good if he does it. He says he's going to
Exactly.
do it, but
Right.
just because you say it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Agreed. Maddox, any other thoughts?
I just think a lot of this is campaign rhetoric, and we're not going to see it get implemented or not in its full form.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we've been ever since the election, we've been waiting to see what campaign promises are actually going to happen. Now that Trump's president, we're starting to see some of them. It'll be, time will tell which, in the end, like which of these policies get enacted, which kind of fall short, and which just get dropped completely.
Yeah. Okay. Next thing he talked about, energy. He officially declared a national energy emergency. Now, I was a little confused by this because I didn't really understand what it meant, but I have since been educated. Jackson, correct me if I'm wrong here. If you declare something a national emergency, that means you can kind of bypass the governmental red tape. Is that right? There's not less regulation, but less scrutiny potentially.
Correct. It gives the executive branch. This usually happens at the state level. A governor will declare an emergency. Say, for example, if there's like a natural disaster, and then they can start doing things without needing legislature approval with limitations.
Exactly.
So that's probably what Trump is going for.
And so declaring a national energy emergency, he said, quote, drill, baby, drill. Looks like we're drilling for gas and natural gas and oil potentially. Like we talked about before, he said America will be a manufacturing nation again, manufacturing the largest amount of oil and gas of any nation. And he wants to bring down prices of that oil and natural gas to fill our strategic reserves up to the top. Now, my question is, where? But where? Where? I know there's like oil in Alaska and stuff and gas in Alaska, but isn't that it? And aren't we like not pulling from those reserves specifically because we don't want to tap them out?
Maddox, you might know more than me. I mean, I know we have offshore.
I don't know much about oil.
Yeah, we have offshore resources. We have fracking is big in the middle part of America, especially like North Dakota. And we have already existing oil reserves that are being pulled from in like states like Texas. I think it exists. I don't agree that there is a. I think we already manufacture and produce a lot of oil. What's your thought, Maddox, on like how it's gonna? Are we gonna have any impact on the global like oil market?
I'm not well informed on the oil
Domestic
industry.
oil production.
I will say, oil is, from an investment perspective, not just oil, but oils and other commodities, or a portfolio of those is typically thought of as like an inflation hedge. And I think in just the last kind of month, like oil has gone up significantly. I actually have a position in oil, not a large
Nice.
position,
Nice.
but it is.
I knew you did actually.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm up a lot, and like I said, I'm not really thinking about like the dynamics of the the industry or the market or whatever. It's more just like a bet on inflation. But yeah, I don't know. But since the election, oil has been up a lot. So if Trump's policies is supposed to bring the price of oil down. It's not done so yet.
I mean, one thing I do know about oil prices globally is that mainly they're determined by, I think, an organization that has a lot of impact on that is, what is it, OPEC? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, OPEC. Because I think that they have like a majority of like the market share on oil production, and so that sort of cartel, how much they produce and export, is typically what dictates the price of oil. I think America increasing its oil production and export is kind of a drop in the bucket. I also don't think, I mean, the amount of oil that we produce does not have a big impact on our domestic prices. Those are mainly in line with global prices. So I think there's a lot of grandstanding. I mean, I think that he might say, let's increase oil production, but I don't think it's going to do anything.
Yeah. Quick sidebar, Jackson, I don't think you could say cartel anymore because in his speech he also declared cartels as a foreign terrorist organization officially, which that was surprising to me. I didn't realize that they already weren't. But anyway, little fun fact for you.
I like my academic economics terms, and I will not have Trump impeding on those.
Well, the other interesting thing about energy was there was no mention of nuclear, which I feel like is where all of big tech is investing right now, because we do realize that we need more energy, especially for these data centers and AI, and whatever. But no mention of domestic nuclear, which was interesting to me. And then the big thing that he specifically called out, he said, "We will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving the auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers." Jackson, did you watch the speech? Did this, did you think anything of that when he said to revoke the electric vehicle mandate?
I should point out I didn't watch any of the speech, mainly because I didn't think I would have anything to learn from it. But I've read a lot of the news reporting on it.
Okay. Well, the reason I bring it up is because when he said it, I was like, we have an electric vehicle mandate?
I don't know the details of the electric vehicle mandate, but I know that there's subsidies, and I think it's like a goal for percent of, or all new vehicles have to be electric by a certain year, and I guess that's going away. I can speak a little bit about the politics of electric vehicles and how it relates to Trump's sort of inner circle.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the biggest market shares and a company that has already a pretty good foothold in the electric vehicle market is Tesla, owned by your two favorite.
Listen.
You can't say that anymore.
Yeah, we can't say that anymore.
Elon Musk. I know.
Can't say that anymore.
You guys can check the tapes on that one.
We've grown up.
We have, both of us.
But so it's going to benefit Tesla. So I mean, there's
but why?
Personal
because
stake in it.
he's saying he wants to get rid of the electric vehicle mandate, right?
Because the companies that will help are the ones that are not already in the market. The costs to get into the market are high if you're not already there. That's what the subsidies are helping with. They're helping bring down costs. So, but if you're already in the market, the subsidies are not.
I understand what you're saying.
They're not as beneficial for you. So Tesla is going to be fine, but other car companies and
it's
other
going to be harder
startups,
for them to break into EV.
Yes, exactly.
This goes back to what you were saying with like fiscal policy. If it's supposed to have a long-term impact, but we're switching up parties every 4 years, that was the purpose of these electric vehicle subsidies, was to like invest heavily up front in this long-term goal of electrifying the entire vehicle fleet. But they keep flip-flopping things, so it's hard for automakers to plan and allocate their resources appropriately.
Well, hilariously, the AP also says there is no such thing as an electric vehicle mandate. In April 2023, the EPA announced strict limits on greenhouse gas emissions from passenger vehicles, but no specific mandate that all vehicles need to be electric by a certain date or anything. Apparently in 2019, Kamala Harris co-sponsored a bill as a U.S. senator called the Zero Emission Vehicles Act, which would have required 100% of new passenger vehicles to be zero emissions by 2040, but the bill did not pass. So he kind of just made this up.
Did you do
on
that as
spot.
a gotcha, Jerome? Because you just got me with that.
Well, I apologize. I didn't mean for it to be a gotcha on you, but we took a little bit of a winding path to get there.
I know that other countries have electric vehicle mandates saying that all vehicles need to be electric by a certain date, like 2045 or something like that.
I mean, I just
guess
thought
the
it was
US doesn't.
interesting, especially with Elon being so close to him. But the way that you're explaining it, Jackson, does make sense to me. But yeah, so
basically Tesla was the first mover, right? And then the subsidies is making it easier for everyone else to come compete with Elon. So now they're pulling, the floor out from everyone else that's getting into it.
Exactly. All right, that's all I basically have for energy. Should we move on to the free speech and censorship portion of the podcast?
No, I'm going to censor that topic.
So, I thought this was interesting. So, obviously, Trump is big on free speech. So is Elon. And he wants to, quote unquote, stop government censorship, right? And bring back free speech, which on the surface, I had always thought, that's weird. Like the government, isn't censoring anyone. But I had a quick question for you guys. Did you guys see recently there was a clip of Mark Zuckerberg on the Joe Rogan podcast where he was talking about everything that the Biden administration did to Meta during COVID? Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes, I have seen that clip.
Well, Maddox, in case you haven't, let me play this clip for you. Okay.
People from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails. the emails are published. It's all kind of out there, and they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous.
Interesting, right? And then he goes on to say that the Biden officials wanted Meta to take down a meme of Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at a TV with a joke at the expense of people who were vaccinated. And Zuck said his company drew the line at removing humor and satire, which is interesting. But yeah, I guess, what are your thoughts here? First off, I didn't believe it when I heard it, but when it's coming directly from Mark Zuckerberg's mouth, not a good look.
Well, so the video that I saw was right after, TikTok was taken down, and then Trump brought it back magically. So when it was brought back up, there was a video of someone that was on TikTok putting hashtags in their caption.
Yeah.
And so if you did F Biden, it worked fine, right? And you can use that as a hashtag.
Yeah.
If you do F Trump, doesn't exist. Can't use that one. F Elon, doesn't exist. Can't use that one.
Whoa.
F Tesla, F Meta, F Amazon. Like, those don't exist now. Like, you can't use those on TikTok. It's like, this is the free speech party, and they are like, literally, when the app is relaunched,
yeah,
those
immediately,
hashtags
like,
are
these
not,
are the changes.
Yeah, you can't say bad things about them.
This is interesting. I thought the TikTok thing as a whole was it just seemed slimy, in my opinion. It seemed like it was just all staged, right? Like, oh, look at Trump, like he's coming and saving TikTok. But I think it was all just planned. I think it was always planned to be this way, because
big publicity stunt. Exactly,
right? And now he gets all this credit.
Do you think that Trump conspired with Republican lawmakers to put this ban in place so that when he came in as president, he could reverse the ban?
I don't know if I would take it that far, but yeah. I honestly wouldn't be surprised either. But I have no knowledge of that, I guess.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think it went that far. Basically, what I heard was the actual bill that was passed, that quote unquote banned TikTok, right? It didn't force them to take the app offline on January 19th like it happened. It only forced them to take it off of the app stores and then allow no new downloads. And then the offline was a different date that was like further in the future, right? Again, these are not facts. Make sure you use your fact checkers. So they never needed to take the app offline. And then Trump came in and said, on Monday, I'm going to use one of my executive orders to postpone the ban date, right? The offline ban date and the take it off the app store date. And then they brought it back online. So like nothing has changed legislatively so far. And I think that's the thing is like, I think a lot of people think that it has. Nothing has changed. All we've done is postpone the date. And supposedly Mr. Beast is going to buy it with a group of billionaires.
I also did you see Mr. Beast TikTok about making an offer on TikTok?
Yeah.
I felt like when I saw that, I was like, I feel like that was like orchestrated too. I feel like
thought
this
so,
all
too.
was like,
Yeah,
this
that
all has
seemed
just
like a
been
sketch.
planned.
Yeah.
And they're just like playing out a bit just to keep acquiring the influence and the power, you know?
Us, man, brain rot. They're just making us all brain rot. I can't tell you
You
how
know-
many hours I spend on TikTok.
Well, hold on. Does anyone know this? So, just to clear up the situation, why didn't, if like Trump postponed it and they could have, and now they're going to sell it to Mr. Beast, why didn't that just happen beforehand? Like, why did they wait? That's what I don't understand. That's what makes this feel more like it is just like a orchestrated thing, because it's like, why did they wait this long to the day where it got shut down?
I think supposedly just a timing issue. At least this is what I've heard, is like the paperwork's not in place and the negotiations aren't ready and in place.
Nah.
And
I doubt.
$1 billion company,
There's no
like the
way.
biggest app in the world, they can't get their paperwork together.
No, ByteDance has been pretty like adamant from the beginning that they were not going to sell the ownership. So
I agree.
They've been pretty consistent, I think.
What were you going to say earlier, Jackson?
Oh yeah, so we were talking about like, all these sketches, all these like little stunts, are they planned? Like I used to like several years ago. I mean, you remember like Bernie Sanders was like a big guy who was talking about how corporations and billionaires were gonna like buy everything, and I was like, I don't know about that. In the last like, I would say couple of years, I've really started to turn the corner where I think that like, I do think that oligarchs and billionaires have undue influence over like policy in this country, and honestly, I don't like it.
Yeah,
I agree. I have like recently these things have not been on my radar as like important issues, and now I'm like getting, there's some people on an extreme side that they have their views, and I get where that's coming from, but I'm like getting concerned, and it feels like we've taken a turn down on like a dark path. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Within the last kind of 12 months, basically, like I've really seen what money can actually buy, like how money can buy influence, right? And I agree with you. I didn't think it was real. Just not even that long ago. Just like when we were in college, I didn't think this was real. I thought this was all just like, political talking points. Like people would just say stuff to make you think one thing or another, right? But no, like it is real. And I think that is the concern with TikTok more so than data privacy, right? Is kind of this, call it thought virus potentially.
Well, yeah. Well, go on. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that was it. That was it.
Well, are you talking about how I feel like TikTok, as opposed to other platforms, is maybe, I don't know if this is true or not, but maybe more like balanced, or the algorithm is more like it's not just feeding you what they're telling it to feeding you. I feel like it's more honest. I don't know,
Yeah, based off of like your interests and stuff.
Yeah,
I
and maybe
get-
that's not true, but
Basically, all I get is a bunch of couple TikToks. I get recipe TikToks, and I get rap TikToks. That's all I get.
Here's the thing that I'm trying to the point I'm trying to make. Are they, you know, are they concerned about TikTok because people that are speaking out against the status quo are able to get their voice out to more people than on other platforms?
That's
Is that what
I've
the
heard
issue is?
a lot recently, as people say this is why they're being targeted, which I'd never considered. I always thought it was just get rid of another competitor, but it could be like two-pronged.
I mean, I haven't heard that before, but if that's the case, that makes sense.
Well, I'll just say this: like post or during and post inauguration, I've seen a lot more. I've seen content of people actually speaking their mind very, very explicitly about this stuff, and I have not seen that on other platforms. So it seems like TikTok is more. And again, I don't know. Maybe that's my biased algorithm, but like my point is I'm not seeing it on other platforms. So
Well, maybe
it
it's
seems
because
like
the Biden administration's asking Meta to take those posts down.
yeah, right. But yeah, so I could. I hadn't put that together until just now, but maybe that is the motivation in suppressing TikTok because it's a tool that is threatening these people in power.
Yeah.
Because it is a way for people to speak out against it, even though X is the free speech platform.
Right. But
Doesn't
all
seem
we
like
ever see is Elon Musk tweets on there.
yeah.
Isn't it also interesting that when they went to ban TikTok, Jackson, you told us about this app Red Note maybe last week or 2 weeks ago or something.
Mhm. Yeah.
Literally millions of Americans flocked to an app that is actually like put out by the CCP. You know what I mean? Like an actual
Well, not by the CCP, but
Well-
it's like it's based in China and Chinese users can use it, and that's the unique thing about it.
Yeah.
TikTok is banned in China because China has their own version of it. But
Yeah.
Red Note, you can interact with people who live in China, which is very rare for social media.
Yeah.
And I think it's refreshing, actually.
I'm sure it'll get banned sometime soon in terms of like maybe they won't allow people outside of China to access Red Note. But a lot of people that I've been seeing that have used it are like, oh wow, this is like the first time I've interacted with a Chinese person and they're normal, like they're regular like I am, which is great. You know?
Yeah, I saw one guy. I don't know if he was being dramatic or if he was actually seeing people say this, but he was like, "Oh, they have bathrooms there? Like, oh, they have grocery stores?" And I was like, okay, he's making a joke, but then also I was like, I don't know, people are crazy. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good thing about like multiculturalism is and like, you know, information age is like you have access to like see what other cultures are like and actually understand them better.
Well, speaking of Elon Musk and free speech, one more thing that Donald Trump mentioned in his inauguration speech was DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. Before I go into anything about it, what are your thoughts? This is the Department of Government Efficiency, co-headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. I think that's how you say his last name. Hilarious that the efficiency department has two co-heads. Anyway, Jackson, thoughts?
It's funny that you say that. There's been some news. I think it came out the day before the inauguration that I think Vivek Ramaswamy is going to be no longer with DOGE.
Wait, really?
I think so. Have you seen that, Maddox?
What?
I haven't seen that.
Okay, yeah, but again, no, we don't have fact checkers, but that's I'd read that in the news. So
by his own stepping down or by him getting pushed out?
It's hard to say. It wasn't clear.
Wow.
So
I had heard,
but you know what? That demonstrates efficiency. We only need one billionaire to run it.
There you go.
I had heard theories, I guess, that like all these people that Trump has brought into his campaign from, you know, that are just billionaires and stuff, like that they would very quickly get pushed out as soon as he got elected.
Interesting.
I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Just like he's using them as tools essentially just to like get what he wants and then he's done with them.
Yeah, this happened in his first term. His cabinet had big turnover. Like people were often out of the cabinet after like a couple months, if that. You know?
Oh wow.
So there's a precedent for it.
Yeah, apparently there's this dynamic with him where he sucks you in and then spits you out type thing. I don't know.
You
Ew,
don't
he
say.
hit you with the suck and spit. Gross.
Anyway, Doge. This is what makes me mad about this, and I was talking about this before we started officially recording, but it's like Doge is one of those things that I almost feel like if you framed it the right way would be a bipartisan issue, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong about like the idea of like, hey, we all have to pay taxes and we pay a lot in taxes. We should at least be getting the most value out of those tax dollars. Like let's go in and, you know, over the years we've built this big government thing, and you know there's probably some inefficiencies somewhere. Like let's take a big picture look at that and then come up with a plan and go in and, you know, try to have like a refresh. And like that seems like, I think most people would agree with that.
It
you know?
seems reasonable, yeah.
But that's what I don't like about politics. It's like it's not about the ideas, it's just about what team are you on, you know?
Yeah. Who brought that idea to the table?
And
I've actually. I'll go ahead, finish.
Well, and then I guess like the implementation is, while the idea is good, the implementation is also up to debate. And I feel like, you know, I don't know exactly how they plan to implement this, but I heard Vivek talking about just like or like just like firing 50% of workers based on their social security number. Like if it was an odd number, like you just get fired. That way you couldn't discriminate. Like it would just be completely random, essentially. That seems a little like haphazard to me. It also like you're just taking all these people's jobs away, you know?
Also, that's not efficient, right? Like you should be keeping the people that are optimal at their jobs if there's like overlap. What if there's two people that are doing the same job and you fire the one that's good?
Well, I think that their thought is like, this has never gotten done before, and our objective is just to get it done. Like, let's just do it. Let's get it done. That's what is efficient, just getting it done, even if it's not. And actually, in the podcast I listened to, Vivek was commenting on that. He was like, you can go in and like try to like chisel away at it, but like you're never going to get anything done. You're never going to get get enough done to make a difference. So like you might as well just go in and you're going to shake some stuff up and break some stuff, but you can rebuild after that. I don't know about that. But again, it's like, I don't know. It's just one of those things. It's just like, I wish politics was more like, let's have these discussions and figure out like a mutual like and optimal way to do this, rather than, you know, oh, you lost, we're doing it this way. Like, you know.
Yeah.
One comment I have real quick about Maddox and Jerome, your point about politics being treated as like a team sport. I've sort of seen a sentiment like this, even from both like people who are pro-Trump and people who are anti-Trump. They're like, I support this because Trump supports this. And they're like, and other people are like, I'm against this because Trump is for this. I think sometimes people, they tend to get wrapped into seeing politics as a means to an end. Well, no, sorry, it is a means to an end. They tend to see it as an end. And it's like, the end goal is to get this politician elected. No, that's not the end goal. The end goal should be to do the thing that you think is good. So even if it gets done by someone from the opposite party, like, you know, for example, I want to see TikTok brought back. If Trump does it, I'm fine with that, because politics is just a means to an end. The end is doing the thing, like seeing the things that I want get done. Yes. I don't care who does it. I think some people sometimes get lost in that.
Yeah, and while I like the way that you put it, I would think that a lot of people don't view it that way. I would actually say most people probably don't see it that way, unfortunately.
It's a good. I'd never put it into that type of framework, but it's a good way to think about it, and I think it's accurate.
I've got one final thing on the inauguration. Just wanted to get your thoughts. So the Gulf of Mexico. Apparently, we're going to rename it the Gulf of America, and I just want to get your guys' thoughts. What do we think?
Okay, I actually thought this was like, which this is very like privileged of me to say this. I thought this was like the stupidest thing of everything I saw.
Yeah.
which probably is not. That's probably a bad take. But like, come on, like, what are we doing? It's like, so there was the Gulf of America. There was
Mhm.
also changing the name of Denali back to Mount McKinley, which
Yep.
is something that Obama changed when he was president.
Why do we not like McKinley?
Okay, the reason why is because no one in Alaska calls it Mount McKinley. Mount McKinley is like some explorer in like the 20th, like it was like
something McKinley.
I remember. It was I think the guy who hiked it or climbed it or discovered it or something, he was from Ohio, and so is William McKinley. So he named it Mount McKinley.
Sorry, speaking of Ohio, I looked this fact up and then I forgot to mention it. So the reason Vivek is no longer a part of DOGE is because he's apparently launching a campaign to become the governor of Ohio. Anyway.
Oh, did you just check? You look
Yeah,
that up just now?
I fact checked that while on the pod. Yes.
While we're live, nice.
Apologies.
But yeah, so no one in Alaska calls it Denali. Both Democrats and Republicans who are in Congress from Alaska, they're very opposed to changing the name back to Mount McKinley. It's just it's a complete virtue signal. You know, it's not going to do anything for anyone. It's not what
it's easy brownie points, right? It's easy brownie points.
It's just like an abstract thing that makes him look cool to certain people, but it doesn't do anything good for anyone.
Yeah. Maddox, thoughts? Or and thought could be that you just don't care because it's so irrelevant.
Well, I mean, just the looking. I just wanted to mention this since you, Jerome, you introduced this segment. But you know, you said you thought the vibes of the inauguration felt good, and then he said trying to do something to make himself look cool. Like I didn't watch the whole thing, and I just saw clips of it, but the whole thing to me I almost felt like it was like we were watching like an elementary school or something where Trump is like the cool kid and all the billionaires are like trying to suck up to the cool kid. And like, I just the way Elon was like jumping around and like screaming weird. And it's like it felt like they had just like a team sport thing. Like they had just, you know, they just won the championship or something, you know?
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like that's what our government should be about. And I don't know if this is true or not, and maybe I'm just like thinking, but like when I think about presidents getting elected when I was younger, like, and I don't know if this is just because I was young and my perception was skewed, but I just felt like there was like an element of like character to it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think,
and I don't feel like that exists now.
Was a bit more like esteemed, and a little more civil. I think there was a change. I would say in like around 2010, there was just like, well, even actually, I've heard it even dates back to. I've heard political scientists say that it dates back to Newt Gingrich used this strategy of like political divisiveness when he was Speaker of the House in the mid-90s during the Clinton administration. So it's sort of been a slow building thing, and I think it kind of just keeps getting worse. Has just been getting worse and worse for the last 30 years.
But yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like we're all NPCs in Trump's video game.
Well,
Trump's player one, and everyone else is a player. All the billionaires are players, and we're just all NPCs.
NPCs, yeah. Well, I want to bring it back to the Gulf of America thing real quick, just because I heard a contrarian take that I had never thought of before, and then when I did think of it, I was like, wow, this actually makes a lot of sense, and it doesn't hurt anyone, and it's very easy brownie points for him. And here's the thought. Different countries call different things by different names all the time. Like, we're not saying Mexicans have to now call it the Gulf of America as well. We're just saying we want to call it that. For example, in Japanese, Japan isn't called Japan. Japan's called Nippon, right? In Japanese, China is called Chugoku. Or how do you say China in Chinese or in Mandarin, Jackson? You probably know.
Zhongguo.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like China at all. Or Spain is España. So it's like, why don't we just call it whatever we want?
This reminds me of an anecdote that happened to me when I was in college. And I was like, literally, I was in a class. It was in chemical engineering class. So it's nothing to do with anything. And one of my professors mentioned by name he said, he mentioned by name the Sea of Japan, and there was a student who was from Korea there, and she said, actually, it's called the East Sea, and she was very like
Adamant
defensive
about
and
that?
provocative about it. And I was like, "Ooh, man, this is steamier than I thought a chemical engineering class on polymers was going to be."
No, but that's a great example. In Korea, they call it the East Sea.
Yes.
Versus, what do we call it? Would you say the Sea of Japan?
The Sea of Japan.
Yeah, that's a great example. It's the exact same thing. We're not telling the world to call it the Gulf of America. We just want to call it the Gulf of America. That seems like that makes sense to me. I feel like the pushback here is, again, going back to Maddox's point from the previous argument, it depends on what team you're on. And so people that are on Team Blue are like, no, why would we do that? But it's like, okay, so what? Who cares? We can call it whatever we want to call it.
Yeah, it just seems, and I agree with that concept. Like, yeah, like you can call it whatever you want, who cares? But it just seems arbitrary just to get a point across.
Yeah.
And also, like, it is not actually arbitrary because it's just going to create like confusion for the rest of the.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, it's kind of got a downside, and for what? Like, what purpose?
Yeah. Well, anyway, that was my inauguration segment, and I hope you all enjoyed it. This podcast is sponsored by And Collar. And Collar is an affordable men's clothing company where products are sustainably made with the equivalent of 15 recycled plastic water bottles. Their shirts have 4-way stretch, are machine washable, liquid repellent, and wrinkle and stain resistant. You can go to andcollar.com right now and get 15% off using code 9 for 15% off. Thanks to And Collar. Anyway, let's move right on into a second period with Professor Maddox. What do you got going on? I hear that we have a Markets with Maddox segment.
Yeah, we do. Brief, because my last one was
not
got
brief.
Some bad feedback.
What?
In the comments section. Were you
What'd
not
they
reading
say?
those comments?
No, what'd they say?
Well, so, I mean, I'll reference back. Last episode, I discussed my trades that I had made, and I was most of the money I made came from being short stocks and short crypto, although those were not my only positions. But the clip we posted about it got a lot of pushback, which I think reflects
wasn't it also like one of our most viewed clips?
It's our number one viewed clip of all time. We only have 100 followers on TikTok, and it did like 20,000 views almost.
Yeah, so Maddox, you got to understand that whenever a clip becomes popular, of course there's going to be pushback.
Right.
It even got made into an audio, didn't it?
It did.
Like TikTok audio?
It was basically the audio of Maddox saying, "I made the most money I've ever made in the markets this week," and then people showing their losses.
Oh, is that what it was? That's not how I interpreted it.
Yeah.
One guy was showing his losses, and then the other one showed a gain that was like a very tiny amount. He made like $20 or something.
It's a great audio.
It's funny. Yeah. I couldn't bear to watch it because I was just cringed out. But what I thought they were doing was clipping it, me saying that I was talking about being short stocks and stuff, and then like basically the day after we posted the clip, like crypto and stocks just rallied very, very hard.
Yeah.
So I thought they were, attacking me.
It was bad timing.
Not attacking me, but they were bullying. They were bullying me as my gains dwindled away. They're mostly back now, by the way.
Hey, but you had realized a lot of those gains too, right?
I mean, I've been holding the vast majority of the position since December 17th, and it's been a whipsaw, that's for sure. But I'm still mostly up, and I'm positioned to make more. So anyway, what I want to talk about is, in the comments section at least, there was a lot of skepticism about the idea of shorting the stock market and crypto just in general, like, because most people's concept of stocks, and to a less extent, but a growing audience toward crypto, is, hey, these are just things that you buy and they go up over time, right?
Well, because that's what we've been taught, right? Most high schools don't even have a personal finance class, but the few that do, that's what they tell you to do.
So yeah, that's the conventional wisdom. And so, hey, these things go up over time, so you should just be always buying them. And so the idea of shorting them seems silly, because why would you bet against something that just on average goes up, and you don't, you shouldn't really expect to have a good way of predicting when it's going to go down, right? And
Yeah.
that's fair. That's an accurate assessment. But I want to talk about a way to think about it that doesn't really have to do with your view on markets per se. So, how do I make money? How do I use my human capital to make money? For me, it's mostly real estate, and then I have some other businesses that are part of my income, but not the whole part of my income. But all of them are mostly cyclical, right? So I'm going to be able to make the most money when the economy is good and strong, and if the economy weakens, I am going to struggle to make money through those businesses.
Okay, I'm following.
So that's how I have to think about my income, because I'm self-employed. And the average person doesn't really probably doesn't necessarily think that way as much, because they have a salary and their income is just fixed.
Right.
Though I would argue they should be thinking more about it like this, because when a recession comes, and it eventually will come, that is when the probability of that income, it's
Maybe
an uncertain.
You get laid off or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that a recession is when that happens. So the way I'm thinking about things is, okay, my ability to use my human capital to make money is contingent on the success of the economy, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why do I want to leverage up on that by putting my investments in something that is correlated with that same income stream, right? So if I if all the money I earn from real estate, let's say, I put it into stocks, and then the economy, the economy takes a big downturn, I can't make money in real estate, and my portfolio is 50%, 75% down.
Yeah.
So now I don't have a source of income, and if I want to pull from my investments, I am selling at losses.
Yeah.
And also selling at a time when I want to be buying, right? So shorting these assets, specifically when they are at the highest prices that they've ever been in history, and there's also a lot of looming concerns about the economy. Maybe I'm not even saying we're ripe for a recession in the next couple years even, but my point is you can't predict it, but you can prepare for it. And so I'm not going to be right all the time, but what is it going to look like when I'm right?
Yeah.
When I'm right, and in the way I'm structuring these bets are with derivatives. So when I'm going to be wrong a lot, and I'm going to lose money or make a little bit, because you can say, hey, I think this is a good time to get short, and then it goes in your favor a little bit, and then maybe it goes back out of your favor, but you've already made some money and you stop out, and so you make a little bit there. That's not the big win, but that's not losing money. So you're not always losing money. But my point is like, you could think of it like buying insurance. You're like in business insurance or income insurance, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, when you buy insurance, you're paying a premium and you're losing money every month. But then when you need the insurance, it pays out big, and then that's very, very useful to you. So I don't know. I was trying to explain this in a way where just the notion of this shouldn't, everyone just assumes this is an idiotic thing to do, but I feel like there is a very prudent reason why you might want to be I'm not recommending this to anyone, but defending my stance on why I am, how I am thinking about making these bets. That is part of how I am thinking about it.
And I think a lot of people were, two things. I think one, it's important to understand that you are not a passive investor. A lot of people were literally just saying, well, the stock market's always gone up, so just put your money every single time you get a paycheck into the stock market, into SPY, and just set it and forget it and let it go up. Check back in 40 years.
Well, I want to take a step back. You said I'm not a passive investor. Most investors separate the things, right? You have a passive investment strategy, and then if you want to try to do better than that, you have,
Yes.
you're taking bets, but you separate the
Yes.
things out. I have a passive investment strategy. I am
Right.
have stocks, have crypto that I'm just long and holding it, and other things. You separate the things out, and then so you're passively growing over here, and then over here you're trying to make bets where you can make more money, or you can make uncorrelated bets to the passive investment.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. And the thing is, the other part that I was going to point out is, for you, like, you are the type of person that, based off how, the stock market's doing or the economy's doing, or just like general sentiment, you're going to adjust your strategy, your active strategy, and change what you're doing, right? Most of the people in the comments aren't those types of investors. They're the types of people that put their money into their 401k and then don't access it for 40 years. And that's just what it is. And that's totally fine. That's just, I want to make it very clear and understood. When Maddox is talking about shorting the stock market, it is in a short period of time right now, over whatever time horizon you're looking at. But, relative to the history of the stock market, is a short period of time. And the long-term outlook has not, like you mentioned, you still have a passive investment strategy that you are long stocks, crypto, etc. And I think people don't understand that, and are also very jealous of your success.
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like the amount of backlash I got was like, okay, this is like, it's kind of reflecting my point. Everyone's on the same side of this trade.
Yes.
Everyone is long these things. Everyone is hoping they're going to keep going up. So, when you're looking to make bets, it's like, where can I take the other side of what everyone else is doing? Because that's where the opportunity is. But yeah, I wanted to defend myself / bring some clarity to the situation. Not that anyone that made those comments is going to see our content again, but maybe they
Hopefully. We'll see. Okay. Well, on that note, let's move right on into third and last period with Professor Jackson. Jackson, what do you got going on this week?
Not much. I actually wanted to talk about another topic that's related to the inauguration.
Okay.
So, it's not about this specifically, but it's been big news. You might have seen it in the news recently that Elon Musk, who spoke at the inauguration, he did a certain gesture during his, at the end of his speech.
Yeah.
And that caused a lot of controversy. If you don't want to know what it was, if you want to read more about it, just Google Elon Musk salute and you'll find it.
Should I play the video?
If you want.
Okay.
We might get censored though, especially if we're on X.
You're not wrong. We might get censored.
Crazy.
There are elections that come and go. Some elections are, important. Some are not. But this one, this one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
So yeah, Maddox, I don't know if you had watched that already.
No, I had seen it. I don't know.
It's one of the biggest news things that came out of the inauguration, actually.
I don't know
in my circle.
I don't know what. Honestly, I'm erring toward the sides of just like it was just
Is
like an
dumbass?
awkward. Yeah, like he's awkward, and that was just a.
My heart goes out to you. He's literally throwing his heart. We're trying so hard to give him every possible excuse.
It was very Attack on Titan vibes.
Yeah, okay. Maybe a little bit. My heart goes out to you. He's grabbing his heart. Yeah. He's throwing it, Okay, maybe I shouldn't do that on camera. Someone cut to a different screen.
Yeah, but anyways, that's not what I wanted to talk about, though. I just wanted to mention that that's the thing that caused what I'm going to talk about. So the day after the inauguration, January 21st, I logged into Reddit, or I got on Reddit, and on the popular page, almost like every other post is basically like petition to ban X/Twitter posts from this subreddit. And so a lot of subreddits, I think it started actually in, funnily enough, European football clubs subreddits, and then it sort of spread to all sports. Yeah. I don't know why. I just saw it from them a lot first. Maybe it's because they were awake earlier because they're Europe. And then it spread to like other sports subreddits, and then it spread to a broader array of subreddits. But it looks like it's going to happen, at least in the short term. I don't know. It's just happening like sort of as we're recording this, but a lot of subreddits look like they're going to prevent you from posting links to X as posts. Regardless of like the events that happened at the inauguration, a lot of users said that they were happy that this was happening, because if you don't have an X account or a Twitter account, then you can't, it's like very difficult for you to view it. If you click on the link, you're not going to be able to view it at all. You need an X account to view it. And so they said that they were relieved, or they were in support of it, because it was just a bad platform to share news through if you didn't have an account. So
that's
it looks
interesting.
Like that's
I don't really use Reddit, so I have no thoughts on that. But that's interesting only because, correct me if I'm wrong, I thought Reddit also like tended to be like degenerate people who suck. Am I wrong? Like
that's Jerome. You just offended so many of our viewers.
I'm so sorry.
At least one of our hosts.
Yeah, you're right. Well, you're offending us constantly in homeroom. So, no. But my point being, like,
I think it's subreddit dependent.
Okay,
it is subreddit dependent. Yeah, it's subreddit dependent.
I was gonna say, is the Reddit like community not the same as the X community?
No, I think it's more diverse.
Interesting.
There
I didn't know this because I don't use it.
There's probably overlap. It's probably like a giant Venn diagram. If you do X users and then certain subreddit users, some of the subreddits are like completely separate circles, but some of them are like huge overlaps.
Like Wall Street Bets or something.
Maybe that.
Bunch of degenerate gamblers.
Jackson, what are your thoughts on this like direction we're going, where like it seems like social media platforms are now like they're becoming the team dynamic. It's like, so people are like going into their like echo chambers almost, and like choosing to be on, and I'm only gonna listen to these people, and I'm only gonna listen to these people. It's like that. It kind of feels like the direction we're going, right?
I've thought about that, and I've kind of been reflecting on that, because I was like that with like TikTok. I was like, I'm team TikTok. I hate Reels and the Facebook Reels, YouTube Shorts, and I'm like, well, I shouldn't be so like shilling for tech companies like that, but I don't know. I mean, it's probably not good in like the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and it's also like kind of the thing that social media initially like did the opposite of, like brought different perspectives together initially, right? And now I feel like it's like
it's turning into like echo chambers a lot.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about though. Is that had caught my attention and was sort of relevant.
Yeah, it is interesting. I'd like to see if they keep it that way, or if this is just like a short-term thing.
Something I'm curious about is like, I have a feeling that the the Reddit admins, which is like the people who own and like operate Reddit, basically. I wonder if they're going to say, subreddits, you can't do this. And this is getting into the whole like everything up there is a giant like conspiracy of like
they all like each other, they all know each other.
Yeah. I think there's a non-zero chance that happens.
I agree with you. I think everything is for the look, right? For the media. I mean, great example. At the inauguration, like just yesterday, Jake Paul, Logan Paul are here, right? They got Mike Tyson on their shoulders. The man just literally beat him up, not that long ago. They're buddy with Conor McGregor, who just announced that he's fighting Logan Paul in India this year for $250 million. Anyway, I don't know why I decided to throw that in there, but there you go.
That just, again, feels like these wealthy people just putting on a show for everybody.
Exactly. Like you said, they're the players, we're the NPCs that are just watching.
We have a choice, though, right? We can stop playing their game.
For right now. For so far, we have
Actually,
a choice.
I've been thinking about that.
It's difficult. Yeah.
I'm like, can we briefly opine on this? Like, seems like we're going like a wrong direction. Like, what do we even do? Honestly, I was thinking like, I kind of feel like the only thing I can do is try to short the markets and make a lot of money. I'm like, I don't know, like bet against the oligarchy. I don't even know. Like, what else do you do?
I mean, I think you're exactly right. And I don't know what there is to do. I mean, other than we make a lot of money and break out of the cycle, at least to a point where we have more control over our own individual lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we could also record a podcast episode and release it and hope that does something.
That's true. That's true.
This one's been very politically riddled.
It has.
We talked about not doing, but
we'll see how this episode does. Maybe
think
this is what the people want.
I think we were I mean, I think we were expressing our views, but I also feel like we were relatively unbiased or like objective about the thing, right?
Maddox, do you have 5 minutes for a recess, or you got to go?
No, I can do 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, let's do a very quick recess segment. Welcome to Recess. This is where we talk about our funniest findings and dumbest memes on the internet that came across our feed this week. And in 2025, we're adding games. Last week, I ruined Maddox's game, so go watch that episode. That was pretty funny. But have you guys heard of FIRE, like in terms of personal finance, the Financial Independence Retire Early community?
Oh, that's something I aspire to do.
I am pretty strongly against the FIRE movement in general. Generally speaking, because I think it's too...
You're more part of the water movement, you would say?
Yeah, exactly. I like waterbenders.
I'm more of an earth guy.
No, just because I think it's too stringent. I think it puts too much stress and pressure on people that try to do this. And then you always hear the horror stories of people being like, oh, I penny pinched every single second of every single day for my entire 20s and 30s, and I retired early in my 40s now. But like none of my friends, like all my friends are having kids and they don't have time to travel with me now that I have the money to do it. And I skipped out on all those trips when I was young. And you hear that all the time, constantly, right? And I saw this thing on Reddit. Let me rephrase. I saw this thing on X that is from Reddit because I don't use Reddit. And basically it's just titled, "My Wife Thinks I'm a Loser." And I want to get your guys' thoughts. So this is this guy's, his FIRE journey. My wife thinks I'm a loser. 41, male, $2 million liquid, $650K in retirement. He recently sold a business, so gets a $75,000 per year royalty, and makes $125,000 a year off of dividend income from his liquid assets. And his wife is a school teacher, so they get healthcare through her job, right? He says, since November began, it's cold and dark early, so a lot of what I do is Monday through Friday when she's at work, I play GTA, the video game. Then I eat THC edibles because there's nothing else to do where I live this time of year. My wife came home early today. I'm stoned in the middle of a conversation with my GTA Online friends. She told me I'm a loser, but because this is what I do during the day when she works. I admit it's immature, but we don't have any kids, and I just want to chill after working a stressful job for 15 years. What are your thoughts? This guy, okay, between royalties and his dividend income, he makes $200K a year. He worked his ass off for this FIRE, retire early. He's 41. They don't have any kids. If his wife's a school teacher, he is still the primary, breadwinner of the family, regardless of if he works or not, right? He brings in $200K a year. Is he a loser? I mean,
why he's making $200K a year and his wife is still a teacher?
Maybe that
sounds like an asshole.
Her purpose is.
Maybe she's passionate.
Okay, maybe she's passionate, but
yeah.
Okay, she's out there pursuing her passion, doing one of the toughest jobs relative to the pay in the world, and he's eating edibles and playing GTA. Yeah, this guy sucks.
But I think his point is like he put the work in to achieve the FIRE dream, right?
Yeah, is that the dream? Because that sounds awful to me.
I don't know, Jackson. You said you're a proponent of FIRE. You tell me.
I mean, I think you should want to do what you want my goal in my life is just to like achieve happiness. That's my general goal. I think he should do whatever makes him happy. But also, when you're in a relationship, your goals have to align with like your partner. And so,
yes,
I don't know what his wife wants from
makes
him.
him a loser.
I don't know why he's doing edibles. Like that seems kind of. Does he do this every day? That's what I want to know.
I will say
Sounds
this:
that way.
the his financial situation, there's not really a problem with that, but it's like, okay, you did this thing. What's the point of it if you're not doing what you want? Like, I'd rather if that was, I don't know. It's like if I had gotten to that point in my life, like, I don't know. And this is my problem with this type of thing in general.
Take
It's
GTA and THC edibles out, but make it playing League of Legends with your friends here and drinking non-alcoholic beers.
But see, we do that, and you guys have like people
I agree.
work. Like you
I
can do
agree.
those things while you're still working. But I think that in general, though, with the fire thing, it's like the problem with it sounds responsible and prudent at surface level, right?
Yep.
But the problem with personal finance is that, I mean, really the way I think about it is like I could die tomorrow, you know? Like,
Right.
why am I deferring all of my enjoyment till this later point in life? And
Right.
and that's not to take it the other way and be like I'm gonna max out all these credit cards, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
It's all about
finding a
balance.
balance. Like how do I prepare for the future, my future self, where I'm not able to earn, and how do I enjoy my life now? Like that's the problem you are trying to solve.
Yeah.
And I don't think fire does that.
Right. I would tend to agree with you. That's why I started this by saying I'm not really a proponent of fire. But Jackson, what are your thoughts? You are a proponent of fire.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I've always said that if I don't have to work, like if today I could quit my job today and still be financially independent, I would do that. But
you would do other things that give you happiness, right? Maybe that's play pickleball,
right.
Or
and again, and I don't want to like speak for this guy because maybe GTA Online and THC makes him happy. But like,
yeah.
So I think whatever floats your boat. That's what like I want to do. Is like I don't want to work. Like I want to work as little as possible in my life because that's not what I enjoy in my life. I enjoy other things.
Well, I think. Go ahead, Maddox.
So I think about this like, all right, I'm starting this new rental car business, right? Where I'm renting out fun sports cars to people, and like the feedback from these people is they really enjoyed the experience. You know, that's still work, but I like enjoy it. So like I'm excited about building this business bigger, and like that's something that I'd be totally chill doing till I am old, you know?
Yeah.
Like I'd rather be doing something that gives me even if I had the $2 million and $200K a year, I would still be trying to like do something to produce income probably, and like, or I would be traveling or something, you know?
Yeah.
I'd be trying to get more out of life. I wouldn't just be
that brings
like,
you joy.
Yeah, I would not just be not doing any. I guess it's like Jackson's making this point. Maybe that's what he likes, but it doesn't sound like that's what he likes because he's asking people, or right?
I think Jackson put it best when he said, maybe this is what this guy likes, but when you're in a relationship, when you're married and there's another person involved, like those things have to be aligned. I think he probably put it best in saying that. And I don't think it's wrong for his wife to have come home in the middle of the day after a stressful day at work and tell him he's a loser for being high and playing GTA.
I kind of agree with her.
I kind of do too. I'm not going to lie to you.
So are you saying his goals are not aligned, though?
His goals, meaning maybe what brings him joy, is maybe not aligned.
But you're saying like he is in the wrong here because he should be more aligned with his partners. Or are you saying they are aligned that because she has to go to work and so he still just has to hang around the house?
No, I'm not saying that one person is in the right or wrong. I'm just saying maybe they live in a situation where their happiness is misaligned and that's just what it is. You know what I mean? Because while I also think he's a loser, like I don't care that he has 2 million liquid and like all this, like I also would not be taking edibles in the middle of the day and playing GTA if I was in his position. That's just not what brings me happiness. But to Jackson's point, maybe that is what brings this guy happiness. But it's okay for his wife to be like, you're a fucking loser, because that's lame.
Yeah, that's why I was asking. Like, Jackson, were you saying he should be more aligned with his wife? Like, if his wife thinks that about him, then he needs to be more aligned with his wife?
I think in relationships, people don't talk enough. It's important to have good communication, good understanding of like what your common goals are. That's my relationship advice from someone who's never been in a relationship.
It's good.
That?
It's good advice.
Yeah. Talk before you get married. If you're a fire journeyer, maybe they should know what you're gonna.
Don't do a spontaneous proposal at a basketball game. I'll just say that.
Well, okay. I was gonna say that too. I feel like I feel like I know people that the penny pincher type people, that have ruined relationships because of that type of habit. Yeah. Because
I actually agree with you, Maddox. If you if penny pinching makes your life worse, then you're not doing the right thing.
Right. Yeah. But again, like you said, it depends on what you care about, because maybe it brings you, it is gratifying to you to be frugal so it just depends.
It's like you said last week, Maddox, if that $5 Starbucks gets you going, buy that $5 Starbucks.
Gets you through this hell of a day. Yeah. Then it's worth it.
Well, hopefully you guys had that $5 Starbucks while watching this episode of the 9 Degrees podcast, because maybe you just really needed it to get through the nonsense of everything we talked about. Thank you guys for watching this episode. As always, if you want to interact with us, make sure to join the classroom on Discord. We've got some new friends joining every couple days in there. And it's nice. It's fun. And Maddox and I are chatting all the time to each other. Everyone else feels a little silent. Also have Instagram, TikTok, at 9 Degrees Pod on everything, so make sure to check those out. Thank you guys for watching the episode. Class is now dismissed.